Okay, getting into basic linear factors here. Let's just take a look at some ideas here. And so this is from the worksheet here, just to illustrate here. Um, all I want you to be able to realize here is that, if we're asking for plugging in certain values of x, or the independent variable here, what we can do here is we can say, well, f of x is equal to, and you can see what I did here is I just plugged in 3, because it's f of 3, into the equation. So it just becomes 7 times 3 minus 3 is equal to 18. And I did the same thing throughout all of these. I think this is something that you're familiar with. Again, I'm getting these answers just by basically plugging it in. I can show you one down here just to kind of hit this one home. If I do, h of 4, okay, that's going to equal negative 5 over 2 times 4 plus 4. Okay, well now I got to do some math here. That's going to be negative 10 plus 4, and that's going to give me negative 6. Negative 6. So there's my answer for this. Same with h of 0. h of 0, well, you can see what happens here. If I plug in 0 in for x right there, all I'm going to be left with is 4. And so h of 0 would be 4. Okay, and you can kind of work through those. I think you've seen those before. Similarly, in some background things here, sometimes we're going to actually know what the function is equal to. In other words, what the quote-unquote y value is, okay, what the function, the vertical axis, is equal to 3. And so what we do is we say, well, what value of the function, so 7x minus 3, would equal 3? And when we move things around, you're going to get certain values. And that's what I did for these answers here. Okay, basic, just plug it in. So instead of plugging in for x, what I'm doing is I'm just setting it equal to y. Just some background here. One last thing here that you should be aware of is a very important part of doing any type of word problems is just identifying what they're giving you. It's a very tough thing because sometimes you're just lost in a bunch of words and a bunch of paragraphs of math jargon that you're not totally familiar with. So when I look at this here, this first one, it says a local donut establishment charges 20 cents for each donut. The amount charged is a function. So they're telling you right now that the amount is the function, and it's a function of donuts bought. So I'm going to say that the independent variable here is the number of donuts bought. That's what I have control over. That's the independent variable. What's going to depend on that is how much I'm charged, because of course the more donuts I buy, the more I'm charged. Okay, and it kind of depends on that. Same with the second example. If you buy, this is a kind of an old example, but floppy disks don't really exist anymore, but 10 floppy disks for 15 or 30 for 40. All I want you to do here is to identify, again, that this is almost identical to the donut question in that you're just buying floppy disks instead of donuts, and the money will be the dependent. So it's exactly the same scenario here. This last one here, it talks about how much reading she has left, and depending on the time. Again, I'm going to say like 99.9% of the time, if you're ever given time as a variable, it's going to be the independent. I mean, generally speaking, that's usually the independent variable. And whatever depends on it, in this case, it'd be the number of pages left. And so that's how you work out these ones here.